Business is a force for good. And with visionary, purpose-led leaders at the helm, we really can lead in both impact and profit. And when we come to our teams grounded in knowing our purpose, knowing who we serve, knowing our clear impact plan, and how we individually and collectively can be of highest and best use, we can prosper, both ourselves, our team members, and our communities and our constituents.
Welcome to Women Leaders on the Move, a Her C-Suite radio podcast. I'm your host, Natalie Benamou, and every week I bring you inspirational conversations to help you in the second half of your career, whether you are looking to land a board role, you're expanding your business, growing a business, you're an entrepreneur, and you may be thinking about leaving your corporate role. We cover all three of those topics today in my conversation with my guest. I'm also the founder of Her C-Suite, a thriving network community where women are meeting, engaging, and thriving in programs designed for those three categories and more. We help women land board roles with our board retreat and also our boards program. Women are finding what comes next in our next career mastermind. And we also have women entrepreneurs where women are doing business together. I hope you'll check it all out. And if you want to meet amazing guests like today's guest, then you have to join Her C-Suite Women on the Move, because my guest is a member of our community. Coco Sellman leverages 25 years of entrepreneurship to champion visionary women in business. She's the founder and CEO of A Force for Good, and she propels purpose-driven women founders towards exponential growth. Her venture, Alume Home Care, achieved significant financial success before a successful exit. Her book that just came out, A Force for Good, is incredible. And I have so many marked pages that I have to go back and reread and do all the exercises. There are so many important messages in this book. I can't wait for you to learn all about it. She offers a strategic roadmap for women to lead transformative high-growth companies. And today we are going to be covering all the topics from being an entrepreneur, exiting successfully a business, and what it's like to really dive into your values and know what matters to create a business for good. So let's get started with this conversation now. Coco, I'm so thrilled to welcome you to Women Leaders on the Move today. Thanks for being on the show.
So pleasured to be here. Thank you for having me.
I cannot wait for this conversation because now I'm a super fan, having read your book. But for the people listening today that don't know yet, which I can't imagine, but they may not know all the things, I always like to start with a question that kind of lets them know a little bit about you and how we got to this moment of writing that book.
Well, I was writing this book while I had just merged my healthcare company. So in the book, The Force for Good, you'll hear about a healthcare company called Alume Home Care. We provided around-the-clock nursing care for medically fragile kids and adults and grew the company quickly. And then in the pandemic, we got to a point where we weren't growing because I couldn't hire more nurses. So I had to make a strategic choice to do a merger. And we did that in 21. Mergers are hard. Putting two cultures together is challenging. And I was going through the throes of that, Natalie, and feeling all of it. And I decided that I would do something good for myself and write something how you can do it and how you can empower your team and how you can create systems and operations and how you can grow as a human being at the same time. And so that's what led me to write the book. It was really a healing experience. This is my playbook. This is how I intend to run every company I ever run.
And you have a lot of experience doing that. I mean, that was not your first. I really appreciated how much we talked about that before we got on camera here today or on audio, is how much work went into this book. And for our listeners, I'm going to say that if you are an entrepreneur, you need this book because it walks you through more comprehensively than anything else I've ever seen. I mean, it really step by step in so many areas. There's always these segmented things. So you really get to the heart of it. What do you believe in? What do you stand for? But then how do you implement that into a business?
The way that I think about it has always been, how do you create a company that can sustainably grow and thrive and create positive impact in the world? That's been my sort of question that I've been trying to answer for 25 years. And what are the areas of focus, the questions, the problems you need to solve, the puzzles to sort of always put your attention on? And what I've discovered over the years is that it's knowing what is the company's purpose. And there's, in the book, you see that there are different elements of purpose. And then who am I serving? Knowing at all times, who am I serving? And it's always, of course, your customers, but I always feel your employees, your team is also who you're serving and your other stakeholders. But how are you serving them? What it is, the value you're bringing to them. And that's another section, different areas, including your marketing funnel and USP and that kind of thing. And then what is your plan of impact? And I say it differently than a business plan. It's because it's supposed to be creating impact, positive impact. And we look at it over a 10-year cycle. We break it down into 3 years, 12 months, and a quarter. And then what can I do? The last piece is, what is my highest and best use? What can I do? And this is the question for everybody in the organization every day, to wake up and say, what can I do today to be of highest and best service to what I know is the impact plan, and be aligned with the purpose and who I serve? And then it becomes a way of living and breathing within an organization. And it sort of unfolds from there. But that's my question. And so keeping those things in front of me, and then having the rituals. The other piece is having the rituals, the daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annual rituals. And some people would call them meetings or retreats. I use the term ritual very intentionally because it's intended to be wholehearted. It's intended to be embodied by everyone present. It's intended to inspire growth and transformation. And so ritual, the word ritual is intentional. We want to meet with our teams, not just to go over numbers, but to inspire them and to acknowledge them and help them feel they belong and that they matter and they're valued. So in my mind, what creates a flywheel?
And it's that sustainability that I think is hard, and especially for entrepreneurs, because it's a roller coaster. And I say to people, I mean, I'm in my 4th year, and I tell people, being an entrepreneur isn't for the faint of heart. Like, you have to be all in on this. And that's some. You have to be ready to pivot. You have to be ready to adjust. And one of the things I really like is that you have this plan and so many resources. And that's the thing that people, your mind will be blown by how many resources are in this book. And you also have a video series that walks you through as well. So if you're a video person, you can watch the video series, or you can read the book with all the resources. One of the things you talk about is that weekly check-in, because I think people will write the plan and then you just kind of like walk away from it. And you think like, yeah, it's always in my mind. But you have this weekly, you say sometimes it's really good to revisit that and redo it even. Can you talk about that? Because that's a time commitment that people need to set aside. But what happens when you do?
Well, it is where the transformation and growth happens. Because here's the thing, I like to think about every day we get up and unconsciously we get on our little hamster wheel. And everybody in our company does the same thing. We get on there and we do what we do. And God bless that hamster wheel. Somehow it's producing the results of today. And that is good. That is blessed. Whatever you're producing is already good. But if you want to experience a new result, we have to constantly be revisiting the hamster wheel that each of us is getting onto. And so this weekly experience, in particular, the weekly experience of rewriting and refocusing as an entrepreneur and even your leadership team to rewrite it, is that it focuses your brain on the problems and the challenges and the levers of growth rather than whatever's in your email or whatever is on your phone, which probably has nothing to do with how you're going to grow your company, how you're going to make your team happier and more productive. So the things that are in this 4-page plan will all in one place. It's pretty detailed. You've got pieces of your budget in there, and you've got your best numbers in there, and you're updating those numbers, but you're also saying, how do I resonate today with my 10-year goal? How do I resonate today with my financial goals? How do I resonate with the growth model that makes most sense for me today? So it allows your unconscious to work and create all the time. The other thing that it does is that, and this is the part that's so subtle, but it is the whole big point, is that it's intended to help you reclaim your power. It's about saying, okay, I am sitting with the pieces of the puzzle and I'm doing it often. And I know the answers, and the things that I don't know, I can use one of the tools, or I can devise my own intellect or listen from within, and I can make a guess, and guesses are great as an entrepreneur. And then you start to see more clearly what you don't have answers to, and then you become really specific about what problems to solve and which problems to let go of. It's like, that's not really the problem that's going to help you grow or be more impactful. So that constant iteration helps you really come deep. The other thing I like to do with my 4-page plan, and I have one, and I just showed it to you, here's my 4-page plan. And I write mine. I do it.
Yes, power of writing.
Right. And I actually listen from my body. Do these words feel really on? And I give myself permission, kind of give myself a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being really high, 1 being low. It's fine to have a 2 for some of them, but I know it's a 2. And I know it's a puzzle that I'm going to solve over the days and weeks and months. But then there's other things that are like, this is what it's about. My core purpose, to make the world better through women-led business. And so that becomes an anchor, or whatever it is on your 4-page plan. And that becomes the wheel, the part of the wheel that spins you. In other parts, it may never give you a lot of leverage, but certain pieces for each business will be the thing that's the magic sauce.
And the magic sauce is really, it starts with you and knowing. And so I think that's one of the things that is done so well in your book, is that you really get to be clear. And you have some quotes about clarity, how to get in tune with that, your values, your purpose. And you talk a lot about that at the beginning. And I think it is important because sometimes people have a passion. And I'd love to talk about the difference between passion, because I've got lots of passion projects. And then I've got my purpose, which I have 2, which is one is my health company, and then one is her C-suite. And so we can be passionate about different things, but our purpose and what drives us forward to make an impact is different.
Really, purpose is like, what is it? Is it passion? Is it what you do? And for me, it really is the transformation you intend to bring to everyone you serve. It's almost hard to discover what that is because we get so stuck in what we do. So we speak in language that's more like mission language. Mission tells us how we achieve our purpose. And passion is something else. Passion is an extremity of purpose. But purpose is the reason why a company exists. It's here to bring this transformative value. So to make the world better by women-led businesses is the purpose. It doesn't say in any way. Disney is to make people happy. Mary Kay is to empower women. So it doesn't say what you do or how you do it. It's the deep, transformative reason you exist. And then mission and passion can come from that.
I love that. I think about her health acts. It's to improve health outcomes for women. I'm not saying like the how, because there is a whole plan for the how. But when you
Yes.
hear of that, you're like, oh, okay, well, what does that mean? You're curious, which I think is that part of that element of tell me more. You're curious about it as a consumer or as a customer or as someone that might interact with what you described is like, oh, tell me more. I want to know more when I hear what you described. How does that work?
It should invoke a question of tell me more. And to your point, her health X. And so you said it's to improve health outcomes. So while that doesn't tell me how, it is specific. And this is one of the other tenets of a good core purpose for a business, because you are saying what the transformation is health outcomes. And that could be a lot of different health outcomes. So then I would get asked, but it's not so generic that gives you permission to do anything. It is anchoring. This is the direction we're going every day. This is the place we sit in. And, that's a beautiful core purpose.
Thank you. Well, that's my purpose and passion, second half of my life. And the other half is her C suite. And then one of the things that I was really intrigued by was the exit plan. That's really, you spend quite a lot of time at the end of the book on that. And I think as entrepreneurs, we get so focused on the day to day. And then maybe we're looking a year or 2 or 3 years out, but we're not always thinking about. And I have thought about that of like, what are the things? And you give some examples of things to think about. What are those things and how do you evaluate that? What are you going to do in the end? You're not going to be forever doing this, no matter where you are. You're not going to do it forever.
It's important as we start companies to always know, as you just said, that there will be a day when we don't go to that job anymore, don't own that company, or don't interact in it every day. And so the question I want to ask myself, and I encourage every founder to consider, is what if it happens to you that you can't do it all of a sudden? Something happens, you get in an accident, or there's something in your family. You wouldn't want your company to have to fold without you there. I also like to think of your relationship with your company and think about it in stages, right? The relationship that you have at the beginning, you might be willing to put in 80 hours a week and all of your extra cash and put all your credit card debt into it. You may be willing to do that, but do you want to be doing that forever? And so what does that look like? And then how can the organization continue to thrive and bring prosperity to you, the owner, as well as to whoever is working for your company? You're responsible for your team and those who collect a paycheck from you, and then also for the community at large. So having a sense of responsibility and clarity about how do I want this to happen over the years of my life. So at all times, we have options for closing the business. And knowing what those options are, I like to always be growing those options, because that gives me the ability to sell all of my assets or find a buyer or find somebody within my company that I could over time sell to them, or find a private equity buyer so that I have options if I want them. And as you do that, you end up thinking about your company in actually a very grown up way, because it's sort of like when you have a tiny baby, you really personalize this baby is yours. But by the time they go to college, they're not yours. They're their own person. And really, they always are. And so it's helping you allow this creation that is your business, that has a purpose and has a team that's more than you, to be able to live and breathe independently of you. And that doesn't mean you can't be in the driver's seat or in the passenger seat or in some little part of the role that you want. Like I put myself in with the Lume after our merger, chose to put myself out of the CEO role and into a board director role. And that was very intentional. But I could do that because we had a team in place and we had leaders in place who could run the company. And I had metrics I could look at every week and every month. So I knew that nothing was going way off the wheels because I could see what was happening. And then I could do strategic things that I was good at, and that advocacy work and Medicaid rates increases and that kind of stuff. So I think it's important to know what your options are for exit. Most of the time, if we're working for ourselves, we're the asset. So how do you make it so your company is the asset and not you? And it's hard in our information businesses, but it's what we can think about and strategize on doing.
How hard was that for you? Because you planned it. The board is different than being that CEO.
It was very hard, and it was the right thing to do. We had two companies merge, two cultures came together, and my partners had a way of doing things, and I had a way of doing things. And I wasn't going to stick around every day and fight with them about it. And so we could have figured out a way to do that, but I made the decision to step back. I trusted them as leaders. I just knew I couldn't operate in that particular system. In many ways, it was a rite of passage. I felt like I was growing up because we start our companies and we grow them and we become so attached and we think no one else can run them better than us. If we do a good job building the company, that's not true, right? If we build a company that can go on without us, we've done a good job. If we've left leaders in place, we've been good leaders. And so that helped me realize that something bigger could be available in my life, right? Like if this is what was coming. And then I went out and started learning about M&A, found us acquisition partners and found us three different offers, and we got to choose. And now I have a total lease on life. We sold the company in October, and now I have freedom in a new way, and I can start my life anew. And I just turned 50. So I feel like really blessed. But if I had to let myself go through those challenges and changes to let go so that I could step back and allow the transitions in life to occur that were going to occur.
Yeah, I'm thinking of that metaphor of the child because it's true, because you are so invested at that beginning phase as the founder, and it is hard to step back. And oftentimes when you do, things thrive in a way that is unexpected, as hard as it is. I know from my past career, I led teams, and every time I would step back and let the account director run the account and I would be that strategic person, everyone was happy, including myself. It's not that you can't do the day to day, but sometimes taking a step back, it is a rite of passage and it is really rewarding. And you serve on other boards. Have you seen some of this type of thing happen successfully or not successfully in those instances where they're facing similar challenges?
Leadership is always interesting. Bringing on new leaders or bringing together new teams out of acquisitions or out of mergers, it's complicated and it's hard. People's feelings get hurt and people are angry, and you have to sort of hold the space if you happen to be the owner in the situation. You have to be able to do that. And certainly it happens all the time. M&A is going on all the time. So one of the tools in the book is called the transformative map, the transformational map. And this is a visual representation of change. And it's sort of underlying all the things that have to happen in order for a goal, for example, to be achieved. And so if a goal is to do a merger or an acquisition and have it work out in the end with a leader that can lead and the team is functioning, then you have to go through a process. There's a bridge between where you start and where you end. And the middle has emotional angst, right? There's feelings involved with that. So a big part, I think, of what makes leaders great is being able to understand that emotional journey, hold the space for that transformation, and then allow people, hopefully, to keep moving forward so they can digest the changes and self-select out sometimes when that's appropriate or help guide them out when it's appropriate. Highest and best use is that fourth thing that I talk about. And when I was going through my merger, that was the question I was asking myself. Like, today, we're arguing about how we organize our file structure. Tomorrow, we'll talk about how many hours people have to work in the office versus virtually. These are small things. So I kept saying, what's my highest and best use? Where are we going? Does it matter if I win these particular arguments? Where are we going? Oh, we want to bring together a team that can function. So what is the path to doing that? So what is my highest and best use? And how can I best be supportive of that? And in the end, I decided it was best for me just to take a different role.
Looking forward now, you've got exciting programs that you're working on, and I'd love for you to share a little bit about that, because if you've listened to this and you're interested in the book, and we've been talking about the tools, which there's so many that I'm just excited and can't wait. I'm sitting on my hands, but not because I showed you like, oh, I'm getting started on this right away. This weekend, I'm going to work on it. I cannot wait. For listeners who are so like, this is something I really want to learn about, whether, we've been talking about the exit, but there's so many things that you talk about in the book before that are so useful. And share a little bit about what you have, because you have a couple programs that you're about to launch right when this comes out.
So the idea is to be able to enroll in a virtual growth accelerator, which is a 12-module accelerator that you can do anytime and sign up anytime. It's there for you right now. And it's a self-guided experience. We'll do a session together. And mostly I want to help you with your 4-page plan, your growth plan. That way you can really get things going. And then the second thing I'm launching next month or in February is a live accelerator. So with a group of founders, and I'm planning to do more and more of these over the coming weeks and months, and some in person, some virtually, but they're intended to help you get that first 4-page plan, which is really the center of it. It helps you answer those puzzles of growth and focus on what really matters as a CEO. So those 2 programs, I'm going to be doing a lot of LinkedIn Lives. Most of those are going to be for free. You can certainly tap into those anytime too.
And we're going to have all of this information in the show notes, and I cannot wait to share that. I can't wait to learn more. I'm so glad that you are also in her C-suite in Women Leaders on the Move. So if people are interested and they want to connect with you, now they can, because that's the whole point of that program. So you can connect and ask questions there. But how great is it for me that I got to read your book, and then right afterwards I get to ask you these questions? I'm the luckiest person. So I'm so glad, Coco, that we had this conversation. It has been such a delight and hard to end, but maybe we'll have a part 2 sometime, because I'd love to I have so many more questions I could ask you. It's no end. So thank you for being on the show today.
Oh, thank you. And we'll just meet each other in her C-suite. We'll just find each other totally there.
Yes. I can't wait. I cannot wait. Thank you for being on the show. Thank you so much for spending your time with us today. I know you got a lot out of this conversation, as did I. I love the book that we talked about today. Coco's got programs that are coming up, and I hope that you will check them out. All of the information is in the show notes, and you can get it on our blog at hercsuite.com. And you can also join Women Leaders on the Move and have an opportunity to ask Coco questions in person at our office hours that we host. I hope that you will visit us at hercsuite.com. I would be so honored if you found this episode helpful to share it with a friend or colleague and rate and review the show. It's how other people find us. Keep shining your light bright. The world needs you.